Hey everybody, I'm Aaron Simmons. This is Philosophy for Where We Find Ourselves, July 21st, 2020. So I've decided to do a little series, and it's going to be on the 7 deadly sins considered from a philosophical perspective. Now, we're probably all familiar with the 7 deadly sins as ideas in Christian theology in particular, by which we find ourselves morally failed. But I want to look at them instead as obstacles to living good lives, as challenges to the rich fulfillment of relational existence. So today I'm going to think about pride. Pride, of course, is often said to go before the fall. Well, in philosophical terms, the problem with pride is that pride prevents us from being able to seek truth. When we think we already have truth, we then are closed off. We have forestalled the opportunity to recognize we still have more to do. So pride in philosophical terms is not only a moral failure, it's an epistemological failure as well. When we think about pride, for me, the classic example in philosophy comes from Plato's Euthyphro. In the Euthyphro, we see Euthyphro, who is going to court to prosecute his father for murder. The story tells us that his father had a servant who in fact committed murder. So the father, not knowing what to do, put the servant in a pit and sent off to ask the oracle what to do, to find out what's the right way to handle this. Well, in the meantime, we learn that the servant had died, and therefore Euthyphro is prosecuting his father for having committed murder. When Socrates finds out about this, he is horrified. In fact, he says, "By God, Euthyphro, why in the world would you be prosecuting your own father?" And Euthyphro claims that the reason he's doing this is because he loves piety so much. He says, "It doesn't matter my relationship to my dad, what matters is the good." And Socrates replies, "Aren't you worried that you may not have the good figured out? Maybe you're wrong." And Euthyphro's response is extremely telling. He simply says back, "If I didn't know the good, I would be no better than anyone else." In other words, he claims that his pride is on the line because he's got to know the good in order to be distinguished, to be set apart, to be better than others. Socrates then says, "Teach me, Euthyphro, because I would love to learn from you." In the process, Socrates points out to Euthyphro, "Look, man, you don't know what you think you knew. Because if you knew it, it would in fact cause you to be more humble about it. But because you are so pride-laden, we can see that your notion of the good is really just a conception of self-protective commitments." Now, it turns out, part of what motivated Euthyphro to prosecute his father was because he fancied himself to be someone his dad should have consulted. Because his dad didn't recognize Euthyphro's own expertise, that's why Euthyphro then strikes out and lashes out in pride. When we love truth, we humble ourselves before it. This means we've got to recognize that pride is going to be a challenge for us anytime we think we are immune to questioning. When we think that there's no need to interrogate our beliefs, to challenge our ideas, and in fact to welcome the criticism of others to help us overcome the blind spots, not only in our moral lives, but in our epistemic ones as well. So when we think about pride, may we recognize that pride is an obstacle to being reverent, to standing in awe of the truth, as Paul Woodruff suggests. So, like Socrates, we should be not attacking those who think they have it figured out, but simply suspicious of ourselves if we think we do. I hope this is helpful. We'll continue in this series and do philosophical reflections on the 7 deadly sins as we move forward. I'll see you next time, unless a piano falls on our heads.